Good afternoon and welcome to the Positive Sports Podcast. I'll be your host this afternoon, Ed Montana. Alongside me today, my non-steroid taking,
That's right.
high counting,
That's right.
counting brother. My brother can count. My brother Alex.
Like Dracula up to like 3 maybe.
1, 2, 3. That's for cousin Jay.
I can't. Yeah.
Who often used to tease me about that character. Was it on Sesame Street?
Yeah.
The vampire character. I don't remember the character's name, but I remember one time we were out drinking with Jay, and he started telling me, "I've always thought that you look just like that."
Well, because
guy.
you had like a little bit of the widow's peak.
Right. Yeah. When I was younger, when I had a little more hair, and so he walked around all night. We were drinking, doing shots, and all night. 1, 2. I still remember.
I remember that. That was in Philly, wasn't it?
Yeah, we were in Philly.
Yeah.
We were in Philly. We were out with him.
Yeah, I remember.
Crazy shit. Hey, speaking of like substances like alcohol, did you hear about the bowler from the Pan Am Games? Because I know you're all into the Pan Am Games, right? Like you've been watching it nonstop.
Oh yeah,
ESPN
absolutely.
6 or something.
All of none of it.
Yeah, I didn't even know it was on. So this bowler from Peru, who was part of the gold medal bowling team, that's right, team bowling at the Pan Am Games, tested positive and got his whole team stripped of their gold medal.
For PEDs?
For a diuretic, which is a masking agent for PEDs. Because, you got to get swole if you're going to bowl.
Are they?
I'm swole for
So you
bowl.
mean bowling doesn't test?
Well, apparently they do. At the Pan Am Games, they do.
Wow.
Like, what kind of steroid are you taking to bowl better? Like, I guess you got to be a certain kind of strong, right? Slinging that 16-pound ball over and over again is...
Yeah. I guess that's another... I guess like baseball. Does it really help? Right?
I don't know.
I don't understand how that could help a bowler.
I don't know. Like, I don't take steroids, so I don't know all the benefits. But, if it helps bowling, surely it's got to help accounting, right?
Make you see the numbers better.
Yeah, like it'll make me add faster and shit. Like, I think I need to start using it so I can...
Give it a try. You're not trying to be the best if you're not cheating.
Look, I'm top 10 as it is without the steroids, right? But, I want to be number one. I want to be the best damn accountant ever.
Don't you want to be on the Forbes list?
That's how you do it. I want to be the accountant. Like, I want to be amongst the greats. Mr. Abacus, Mr. Calculator, and Mr. Montana.
Move over, Einstein.
Einstein was a scientist, bro.
Oh, well, same shit.
You don't know nothing about it.
It's the same shit. Mad science. It all goes hand in hand. You think The Rock does steroids?
The Rock?
The Rock. Dwayne Johnson.
Do I think he does steroids? I think he does all of the steroids. Every last one of them.
So, you might be right. Just because I'm sure he's a pretty busy man. Spending time filming and in the gym and all that shit. But like, why doesn't Hollywood get tested?
I don't know. But see, that's why I think he does, because it's harmless, right? And it's Hollywood. And for that guy, like, his appearance is his moneymaker. You know what I mean?
So if you look at sports, let's say baseball, because that's where that's where all the steroids is happening, right? Mm-hmm. They're doing it for their performance because their performance matters too, but it's not okay for them.
Yeah,
to do it. It's kind of the same thing.
But it's a physical competition, right? Whereas, so if Mike Trout is getting, and I'm not saying Mike Trout is on steroids, but if Mike Trout is using steroids and he's getting better, his numbers are directly affecting, in a negative way, the pitcher he faces, right?
Yeah, that's a point.
Whereas The Rock, selling a couple more movie tickets has a negative effect on no one.
Actually, he does. He's got the industry that he's in like a chokehold, because there's really nobody that does what he does and looks like what he looks like, right? So there's like no up and coming Hollywood star
but
that
someone else could come in, like John Cena. Hasn't John Cena done a movie?
Yeah, but they've been different types of movies. They haven't been, fucking Fast and Furious. They've been like comedy movies.
Well, because that's what he's chosen to go into. But I mean,
because Dwayne Johnson can't get by Dwayne.
But he could do a Fast and Furious type movie if that's what he wanted to do. He wanted to do a funny movie, so he did a funny movie. I don't know. I just don't.
Well, Fast and Furious already has too many characters. They probably.
How many Fast and Furious movies are there?
Well, there's gonna be 10, so we're up to 9. 9's dropping next year. And
oh,
then,
really?
Yeah, they signed a 10 movie deal.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
There's too many of them.
Yeah, there is.
I've never seen a Fast and Furious movie.
You're missing out. You need to watch at least the first. Go watch 5. If you don't want to watch from 1 to 8, go watch 5. 5 is probably the best one.
Really?
Yeah, a lot of action. It's good. Good storyline.
I don't know. It's just not my thing. It's never really appealed to me.
Well,
Do you think The Rock does steroids?
No, I don't think he does.
Really?
I don't think he does. But now that you brought it up, I wouldn't be surprised if he did. Just because of the time constraint, right? I mean, the guy's got to be busy. Fuck.
And I mean, you got to maintain that physique.
Yeah.
Right. That's his moneymaker.
But I don't think he did. I don't think he does.
You think if he shriveled up, he'd still get a lot of roles, or do you think people would be like, that's not the same Rock. We don't want to see that Rock, even if like he wanted to move into a funny movie where you don't have to be big and bad.
I mean, he could do a movie like Grumpier Old Men or some shit like that,
Right. I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, that was the big news in sports today. Was the bowling guy who failed.
Yeah, that's a shame that bowling is turning to steroids. It really is. It's actually pathetic.
They've got a real problem.
It's actually pathetic.
It just goes to show, man, when it comes to competing, it does not matter. Speaking of competing, there is a team in the National League East that is starting to really compete.
Man, the Marlins are finding ways to lose games. They're competing.
Hey,
they're competing every night.
Hey, I mean, you laugh, but they're giving the Braves fits this weekend. I was not referring to the Marlins. I was referring to the Mets. The Mets, winners of 7 in a row, 14 of their last 15. I believe they lost today. But
they did. They lost today.
But so they were winners of 7 in a row, 8 in a row, whatever it is. But they took 2 out of 3 from the Nationals this weekend. They are 1 game out of a wild card spot. They're still pretty far away in the division. Atlanta, who has not played great since the All-Star break, has got a good 7.5 game lead, I believe, on Washington. 9 on the Mets, 10 on the Phillies.
No, 8.5 on the Phillies. It's 8.5.
Are the Phillies ahead of the Mets?
No.
So it's 6.5 because we're a game and a half behind Washington. I thought.
Phillies 8.5.
It's.
So yeah, I'll say this. I would not be surprised. I really would not be surprised if this thing comes down to a 4-team race with like about 2 weeks left into the season, because the Phillies are a team that can get hot. The Mets, if they can maintain this level of hotness, I think the Nationals at the start of the season, I thought the Nationals would be really fighting for first place in the NL East and win the NL East. And they've kind of hung around all season, and the Braves, have been a little shaky here in the past few games, in the past few weeks. So I think 8.5, and this division is going to play each other all month long in September. So I really, and I still stick by, whoever wins that division is not going to win more than 90 games. They're just all going to beat up on each other. So I think this division is going to come down to, with about 2 weeks left, and it's going to be a dogfight.
I think the I think where you're wrong. I think you're wrong on several fronts. I think Atlanta's going to win the division, and I don't think it's. I think it's going to stay 6, 7, 8 games. I don't think any of these teams are going to get closer. Atlanta's looked a little shaky here lately, but it's just Atlanta's just too good. I think for the division, and part of the reason for that is I think the Phillies have given up. The Phillies. There's 3 teams that when I watch them play, they don't look like they really care anymore, and that's the Phillies, the Brewers, and the Red Sox. And so I think the Mets and Washington will continue to fight simply because they're fighting for a wild card spot. But I think Atlanta's going to have it pretty easy. They're going to win it by 6 or 7 games. Washington and the Mets will continue to battle. The Mets won't maintain this level of hotness. It's not possible. I think the Mets have won 20 of their last 26. And if they do that over the next 26, they're going to blow by Washington, and they're going to chase down Atlanta. It'll be closer than the 6 games I mentioned, but it's 20 out of 26 is not sustainable, not in the MLB nowadays. And so I think the Mets and Washington, along with a couple other teams, will be fighting for those wild card spots. But I feel like the Phillies are just about ready to mail it in. They just don't. They just don't look like a team that. I mean, I hate to say this. They just don't look like a team that cares. And I thought they were going to win the division, and their pitching is not holding up. They didn't make any moves of real substance at the deadline. They're not hitting as well as we thought they would. It just seems to have fallen apart for the Phillies, and I'm not quite sure why, but that's my feeling there. And then, if we move on down to the Central, Milwaukee's another team that, they've got Christian Yelich and they've got some decent hitting, some decent pitching, but they don't seem to have it either. I mean, they lost 2 or 3 to the Rockies this weekend. They just look like a team that doesn't really care. They went and got swept by the Cubs in Chicago last week. It's just not looking good for them, and I think that battle is really going to come down to Chicago and St. Louis. If Chicago has more home games than road games left, then Chicago's going to win that easily because they are 2 different teams at home and on the road.
Yeah.
I mean, at home they seem to be unstoppable.
Chicago's problem, I think, is going to be in the bullpen. They lost 3 relievers to the injury list this week alone.
Yeah.
So that's going to play a big part. I don't think you're giving enough credit to the Brewers. I mean, the Brewers are first in the wild card, and they've been the Cubs and the Cardinals and the Brewers have been battling for the Central all season long. So I think they're fully invested in this race between for the division and the wild card. So. The Phillies are only a game and a half. What is it? Yeah, a game and a half behind. Getting into the wild card. So, we've seen the Mets get hot, and this is an incredible run that they're on. Who's to say that a team like the Phillies or the Cardinals or even the Diamondbacks can get hot and do something?
Yeah,
it's all possible. I don't think the Phillies have such a bad team that they can't do it. We know what the potential of the offense. So again, if at some point if they can find a way to hit at the same time,
yeah,
really at the same time, then who knows what can happen. So
yeah, anything is possible. But again, just what you see over the last couple of weeks, I always find that the last week of July, the first 2 weeks of August, I always find those to be a pretty good barometer of where things are going to shake out. Because at that point, you still have a long way to go, but you've also played a lot of baseball. And so, you've got a big sample size to look at what kind of team you are, and you can see the momentum of the team going into the stretch run. And like I said, the Phillies and the Brewers and Boston especially, just They just don't look like they have it.
But Boston hasn't looked like they had it all year, and they're 6.5 games out of the wild card. Boston,
they're the worst case of the three.
And they're generally, they really packed it in at the trade deadline. For them to not make a move, the Phillies at least were, they were closer than what the Red Sox were. Red Sox didn't even bother to make a move. They're not that far away right now, but just the way, the attitude of the team is just not, it's not good enough to win this year or to make a comeback.
Yeah,
at least.
No, I'd agree with that. And that seems like a complete organizational white flag. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The players seem to be like just going through the motions, and the front office not making any moves kind of tells you the rest. So that's the way it looks there. And then out west, before the trade deadline, the Giants were pretty hot, and they have cooled off considerably. And then you got Arizona and Colorado out there. It just doesn't seem like there's much out west that's going to push for a wild card spot.
So much like the Dodgers in the NL West, the Astros in the AL West are pretty much dominating. Which one of these teams are going to get bored first? Because at some point both teams are gonna play nothing but division teams in September.
Yeah.
Which one of those teams is gonna keep this up? Or are they gonna get bored with baseball and just kind of start resting their players? And that sometimes plays a part going into the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
It could either break their momentum or.
I would think the Astros are going to get bored before the Dodgers, because the Dodgers seem to be getting into a fight every week. Did you see them?
No.
They got testy with the Rays.
Oh, no,
with the Diamondbacks this week. They had a pitcher from the Phillies shouting at them, a while back. So they seem to be at least creating a couple of feisty scenarios every now and then with their opponents. Whereas the Astros are just, having fun putting up 23 runs against teams like the Orioles.
Yeah.
The Astros still look just ridiculously complete to me. Absolutely the most complete team out there.
Yeah.
Easily.
Yeah.
I think easily the most complete team. It really looks like, to me at least, it looks like the Astros and the Dodgers are on a collision course to make it to the World Series again. And I know anything can happen, but they just look dominant. They look really dominant. I
fear, and even I've said it in the past, I fear when people start saying that about one specific team, like, the Astros, right? To me, they look like they are the best team. They got the best pitching staff, possibly, yeah, pitching staff in baseball right now.
Yeah.
But man, when the playoffs start, it's just the games are just different. The atmosphere is different. You got to go on the road and win tough games on the road. Yes, right now the Astros look like the best team.
Well, and the other thing that
I fear when we start crowning a team early that they're going to the finals or to the championship, to the World Series, that it doesn't happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And part of the reason for that, especially in baseball, is you can't control the scenarios, right? So you can't control when the opportunity arises, and sometimes the opportunity doesn't arise for your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hitter. It arises for your number 7 hole hitter, right?
Yeah.
And that guy all of a sudden becomes a hero or a GOAT, right? And so that makes it hard sometimes. That you can have a series momentum change in one at bat, and that at bat could be, like I said, a guy in the number 8 hole.
Yeah.
And you don't control it. It just comes up when it comes up, right? And that could happen to anybody. But certainly when you look as presently constructed, when you look at teams as presently constructed, man. And I know the Yankees have a great record, pretty much same record as the Astros, but to me the Astros just look ridiculous. speaking of the American League, you know, the wild card, and the reason I start with the wild card is because you got Oakland and Texas. Well, Oakland really, who's a game and a half out of the wild card. They're really the only ones out in that AL West that have a chance to make the playoffs. They're 10.5 behind the Astros, so they're not going to win the division. You know, they made a great push last year. It looks like they are trying to do the same thing this year. Do you think they have a shot to overtake Tampa Bay or Cleveland? I mean, they have a shot.
I mean, yeah, I don't think it really matters if they do or they don't, because I mean they're gonna lose the first game, but whoever they have to play. In this case, it'll be Cleveland, I guess, but or I mean whoever they have to play, Oakland will lose. So
Cleveland or Tampa.
Yeah, I mean Tampa. Oh, Tampa.
Right. If Cleveland falls out.
Yeah, I don't think either of those teams are good enough to really win a wild card game.
Against Cleveland?
Yeah, no. Or even against the Twins.
Right, the Twins.
Yeah.
There's a 1-game difference there. Although I think they're playing right now. So
it seems like Oakland always makes a run. So, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they sneak in. But any further than that, I don't think they really have a chance.
The only other real race in the American League is the Central Division itself, where you've got Minnesota and Cleveland separated by a game with not much more to go, right?
Who did I pick in this division? I think I picked
We're talking about 45 games left.
I think I picked the Indians. I did pick the Indians.
Did I pick the Indians as well?
No, you did not.
Who did I pick?
Twins.
Oh. I think the Twins are going to hold on.
And they could.
I said it in March, and I'll say it again. The Twins are going to win the Central. I do think the Twins are going to hold them off.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's gonna be interesting. Who do you think is gonna win the Central? Are you sticking with that?
Yeah, I'm sticking with Cleveland. I think the Twins are gonna be out without Nelson Cruz for a little bit, so that's a big part of their lineup. That
is a problem for them.
Nelson Cruz has been having a good season again.
A great season.
So you know, and I don't trust Minnesota's pitching. Like in a big game down the stretch, I don't know if they can. Perform as well as Cleveland. And Cleveland's been without Carlos Carrasco. I totally forgot about that. He had like leukemia treatment.
Well, yeah, he's not coming back this year, is he?
I don't think he's coming back. Kluber's just starting to come around. So, you know, Puig made a difference. Well, he didn't make a difference, but he hit a home run yesterday.
He's trying to make a difference.
But yeah, I don't trust Minnesota too much. So.
I don't trust him.
I don't trust him.
Twins, Basil. I still think the Twins are going to hold them off and win the Central. But then, you know, you've got Cleveland in a 1-game playoff against Tampa or Oakland. And I say Tampa or Oakland, even though Tampa's up a game and a half, I still think Oakland's going to take that spot.
Think so?
Tampa's going through a lot of injuries. Snell's on the IL. It's looking tough for them. To hold on to that spot, so I don't think it's going to happen for them. And then you've got the AL East, where the Yankees are pretty much.
Yeah, they're in control.
They're up 9 in that division, and you know they're just cruising along. Plus, they get to play Toronto and Baltimore quite a bit. It's amazing to me that Baltimore is as bad as they are, and they don't have the worst record in the major leagues.
They don't? I didn't
Detroit is actually worse.
Detroit?
Which is just incredible to me that Detroit's actually worse.
Wow.
It's pretty sad.
I didn't know.
Stop and think about it.
Yeah, I did not know that. Yeah, I forgot where I was going to go.
Nowhere. We're doing a podcast.
Yeah.
Football? You want to talk football?
Yeah, we can do football.
The first week of the NFL preseason is done.
How many games did you watch?
None. I was all over that Cincinnati-Kansas City game, though.
Were you?
Oh, yeah. I watched that beginning to end.
You took the over?
No, I did not. Next to Pat Mahomes looks like he's in mid-season form.
He's in no-look form?
Yeah, he's doing great.
I hate preseason.
Preseason's a waste of time.
They really need to just cut it down to two. 2 games would be sufficient. Keep the 16-game schedule. They're going to go to 18. I guarantee you they go to 18. Sooner or later, they're going to go.
I don't see how they... the NFL, just from a money perspective...
Yeah, that's all it is.
They've got it. I think they're not going to cut 2 preseason games out and that's it. Right? So they're going to do something with it, and they're going to convert them to regular season games, which... I don't think.
Which if I'm the players, if I'm part of the players union and all that shit, fuck man, I strike.
Let's play 18 games.
Who wants to play 18 games?
Quite honestly, 16 games is too much.
Right.
I mean, with 12
but if you take away the 2 preseason, then 16 is you can live with that, right?
Yeah.
Your body can live with that.
Yeah, but these guys, I think from a physical standpoint, it's too much. 16 is too much, and I think going to 18 is a terrible idea. But they're going to push it.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to push it.
I think it'll happen.
And I agree with you because, unlike baseball, the union has no teeth.
Yeah.
It's a completely different dynamic. I don't understand why it works that way, but the union has no power, it seems like. And it's unfortunate because we're going to see shorter careers.
I'm telling you, what the NFL needs to do is just keep the 16-game schedule, change the preseason from 4 to 2 games, and after week 8, everyone, all 32 teams, have a bye, and then you return week 9 to play. The 2 weeks later, and you play the rest of the games. It's equally balanced. The bye weeks. You don't have a team taking a bye in week 4 and then having to play freaking 12 straight weeks, or you don't have a team getting the last bye of the season in week 9 or 10 and then playing. I mean, you kind of balance it out a little more, and I think the players would appreciate that. But, again, that's another week of the NFL not generating any money.
Yeah. That's a great idea, though.
But, I
really like that idea of making a league-wide bye week.
Yeah, why not?
Well, you said why not, because then there's a week of no football, right? So they can't sell a 17-week regular season contract to ESPN and CBS and Fox. If you do that, it would effectively be a 16-week.
Yeah, as a fan, I'm okay with it. Not having football on for 1 week. You do it between the conference championship and the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
I can live with another week of no football.
That's what they could do. Put the Pro Bowl in week 9.
In week 9,
right?
No.
So you do 8 weeks, 8 weeks of football. You have the Pro Bowl in week 9.
What players do you use?
Whatever players you want.
NFL players?
No one's watching that shit anyway. You do the Pro Bowl in week 9, and then you do the rest of the season week 10 to 17.
No Pro Bowl.
I think that's an awesome idea.
But, the NFL...
bring the Pro Bowl to the middle of the season. Call it the Midwinter Classic, just like baseball calls their All-Star game the Midsummer Classic.
The Midsummer?
Boom!
Yeah, screw that. That's another game they need to get rid of.
Oh, yeah. That one needs to go big time.
Think about how many players would not hold out. Think about how many players would play a little harder if they gave a greater bonus if you made an all-pro team or something. Instead of having this Pro Bowl team, just be a Pro Bowl player, right?
Right, like All-American in college, right?
Exactly.
Have it be a designation.
And just make the incentive a little larger. If it's $500K now, make it, I don't know, $1 million, $750,000. That would get players to not hold out, not sit out late in the season, and shit like that. But
that sounds like a good idea.
It's the NFL, so
none
of this that I'm saying is possible. None of it.
It's possible. It won't happen, but it's possible.
So if it won't happen, it doesn't make it possible.
No, it's possible. Possible means it could happen.
But you said it won't.
It won't.
So it's not possible.
But it could happen.
But it's not possible.
It's possible if it could happen.
You just said it won't happen.
I said it won't. I didn't say it couldn't.
But if something's not gonna happen, then it's not possible.
No, it's still possible.
No, it's not, because you said it's not gonna happen.
I could buy my son a car for his 16th birthday.
But you won't.
Right.
So it's not possible that you will.
Possible.
No.
It's possible. I have the money, and I could walk into a dealership and buy him a car.
But you won't.
It couldn't happen.
But you won't.
It could happen, but it won't happen. Those are two different things.
Therefore, if it won't happen, it's not even an option. It's not possible. It's not possible.
Sure it is.
No, it's not.
Sure it is.
You can't make if something's possible, that means that you're 50-50 on the fence.
It doesn't mean you're 50-50.
Okay, 60-40, 99-1, it doesn't matter.
Right, 99-1.
There's still a chance.
There's a 0.0001 chance that
if something is not if something is definitely a no, then there's no.
Yeah, but my son's 13, right?
Right.
He's not going to be 16 for another 3 years. A lot can happen between now and then.
Right, but as of now, you won't.
Right, but that's
so
what I'm
it's
saying.
not possible.
But it is possible.
As of now, it's not possible.
It's possible
because
you're not. Know what's going to happen over the next 3 years.
Right, but as of now, like right this minute, as we're doing this podcast, your
son's not talking about something that's going to happen when he's 16. We're not talking about something right now.
You've already decided that, though. What's going to happen at 16? He's not getting a car.
I've decided I'm not going to buy him a new car, but
right.
that doesn't mean it's
so it's not possible.
Sure, it's possible. It's possible because I could change my mind, and I still have the wherewithal to do it.
Right, but still, you said
so it's possible.
You said no, so it's no possibility.
It's possible that the Astros don't make the playoffs. It's possible.
It's possible.
But it's not going to happen.
Right, so it's not possible. It's impossible that it's impossible for the Astros not to make the playoffs.
It's not impossible.
It is impossible.
They could go on an they could go 0 for the next 25 games and all of a sudden not be in the playoffs.
No one believes that. Maybe you do, but nobody else does.
But it's possible. Okay, what if, and now this is, I'm going to go to hell for this.
Oh God.
What if they, go on a road trip and their plane goes down?
And they're what?
Their plane goes down.
Oh Lord.
Right?
You're going to hell, bro.
Well, then they don't make the playoffs now, do they?
They do make the playoffs. They bring up the minor league, the AAA players to play.
And then they lose 25 straight and they are no longer in the playoffs. Jeez, what a horrible thought.
It is.
Can you imagine if something like that happened? That would be horrific.
Yeah, that would be.
That would be. Let's go on to something.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, let's get off the possible impossible debate because I went a really bad way with that one. It's all your fault.
Lightning is gonna strike you.
Let's talk about.
But it's sunny outside, so don't worry.
Let's talk about Antonio Brown instead, which is much more.
Do you want to talk about Antonio Brown, or you want to talk about Antonio Brown's feet? Be honest.
I want to talk about Antonio Brown.
I want to talk about his feet.
I don't really want to talk about his feet.
I mean, I can relate. I got feet just like that. I mean, you want to see?
No.
No?
No. I have managed to avoid the pictures of Antonio Brown's feet. But my understanding is he has some kind of frostbite.
It looks like the fucking guy went outside in the middle of Texas, in the middle of July and August, and walked barefooted for about 2 or 3 hours. I mean, holy shit. I've never seen feet like that.
I haven't seen the pictures.
Have you seen, like, in Hollywood, the way they prep the actors and the actresses, and they put this fucking tight-ass facial thing, and it's like, it's clear, right? It's like beige color, and it's all for Hollywood, right?
Right.
That's what his feet looked like, and it looked like everything was coming apart. Yeah, that was pretty crazy. God, I didn't think that was real at first. I thought that was... I don't know what I thought that was, but...
This podcast has gone downhill fast.
But Antonio Brown, I don't know the whole fucking story, but, I mean, over a helmet, this guy is something else.
He just can't... I just don't understand, like... Is this a new thing with the helmet? Like, did this helmet lose its designation for this year all of a sudden? Or has he been using an unapproved helmet previously?
So, from what I read, of what I vaguely remember, you can only use a helmet for a 10-year period. After that, you have to change helmets.
Okay.
So but apparently he was still using his
PV League helmet?
an old helmet, I guess, or some shit, or his the helmet that wasn't approved for like preseason games or some shit, or training camp. He was using like a practice helmet. This guy even went as far as spray painting his helmets so that it could look like the official helmet to practice in or play preseason games in. I don't know. I don't know the whole story, but
this guy why doesn't he just go to management and say, look, I'm not going to play in the preseason. I don't want to practice. Just take me as I am. I promise I'll be in shape, but I don't want to do any of the preseason, and I don't want to do any of the practices. Can we just work something out here?
So you're saying that he's doing this to get out of playing in preseason?
I don't think he wants to play preseason.
I agree with that.
I don't think he wants to practice. I don't think he wants to do any of that shit. I think he just wants to go out and play on Sundays, and some guys are good enough to do that.
You think he wants to play on Sundays? Because what he showed last year in the last game of the season was that he doesn't want to play on Sundays.
I think he didn't want to play for Pittsburgh anymore on Sundays, but I think now he wants to play.
Well, I mean, that attitude that he had last year goes... I mean, look, he's a wide receiver. Man, look...
The further away you get from the football, the crazier they are.
I advise teams to keep paying these star wide receivers. Keep paying them, man, because it's very few that are not like this. You know? I mean, you can count on one hand how many are not like this. And, I think the winners out of all this, it's not Pittsburgh, it's not Oakland, it's the Buffalo Bills. They were lucky for that trade to have fallen through the basement and no part of it.
Yeah, I think this is all going to blow over by the time the season starts, and he's going to wear the new helmet, and everything's going to be fine.
You think so?
Yeah, I think this is his way of not playing in the preseason. He just doesn't want to play. And I don't understand
why. Yeah, but there's other ways to go about this.
Yeah, why doesn't he go about those other ways? That's the part I don't understand.
Because I don't think he's that smart. And he needs all the attention in the world. Personally, for his brand, he needs that attention, I mean, it's just in their nature.
It's just terrible. The other news that came out this week as far as individual players go is Elliott sitting out the preseason.
Elliott who?
Ezekiel Elliott from the...
I think he's the only Elliott in the NFL.
For a moment there, you had me freaked out. Like, that's not his last name. I was like, hold on, what is his last name? Zeke
the Freak.
Zeke the Freak
the
is
belly
sitting
dancer.
out for the Cowboys. I don't think this is going to go the way of Le'Veon Bell. I think he'll show up, last week of preseason. Maybe even with a new deal. But I don't think it's going to go the way of Le'Veon Bell. What do you think?
I mean, those are strong words by Jerry Jones. To come out and say that, he doesn't need you don't need a star running back to win a Super Bowl. Those are pretty strong words. Yeah. That's shots.
Words.
That's shots fired right there.
Yeah, that's fighting words.
So
he's not wrong.
No, I don't think he's wrong.
I'm not saying he's right. I don't think he's wrong either.
From a Cowboys standpoint, I think their first priority is to sign Prescott, and then you take care of Zeke. So I don't think Zeke is going to get a deal before Prescott does. There's just no way that's going to happen.
Yeah, I would imagine not.
I don't think that's going to happen. So Zeke could very well be sitting out for...
I just don't think
a few weeks.
He just doesn't strike me as the same kind of head case, for lack of a better word, as Le'Veon Bell. I don't think he's going to sit out.
No, but I mean, a head case is a head case. It doesn't matter if it's level 1 head case or level 5.
It does matter. He's not going to pass up game checks. Le'Veon Bell's head case level 5, where he's willing to pass a whole season.
I mean, look, these running backs talk. So, Le'Veon Bell, I'm sure, maybe has spoken to Zeke about this, and maybe he's influenced him a little bit, and it causes Zeke to just sit out and cough up some paychecks. But I think he's going to be out for a little bit. I think he's going to be out for a little bit.
Into the season?
Yeah, I think it goes into the season. Yes.
I'm sure Cowboy fans don't want to hear that.
Now, Melvin Gordon, I think that one gets resolved first. I think he plays.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be a situation where the Chargers are going to be like, all right. What do you want?
Yeah.
Because I don't think the Chargers are in the same position as the Cowboys. Right? They need Melvin Gordon.
Yes, and
the Cowboys need Elliott as well, but they could kind of finagle their way around it.
Right, because their offensive line is jacked. Above average.
Right.
So they're able to put in a Joe Schmo or Alfred Morris or whoever the hell they're gonna put in there. Yeah, I think Melvin Gordon, and the Chargers figure something out.
And it should get resolved because Melvin Gordon's a hell of a running back.
Yeah, and the Chargers are close, man. I think they're really close to...
Yeah, because if you look at that division, I mean, if you can kind of hang with KC, you're in business. And I think you're right. I think the Chargers could. I don't think much of the Broncos this season. I don't think much of the Raiders. With or without Antonio Brown. Yeah. So, you think the Chargers have a shot.
Yeah.
Have a shot to do something.
With the Raiders going to Vegas next season, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Is that when they're going to Vegas?
I think so.
You would think Brown, you would think Brown would be kind of on his best behavior, right? Because you're going to Las Vegas. Just imagine all the...
Yeah, you're going to Sin City. You don't have to be on your best behavior.
Man. I mean, the limelights. I mean, you're in Vegas, man. I mean, that city don't sleep.
I think that's going to be so bad for them.
I mean,
there's going to be so many players that are going to get themselves in trouble.
Yeah, I mean, I could see it easily, right?
Vegas, man.
But it hasn't happened with the Vegas Knights in hockey.
Hockey's different.
Yeah. Russians don't party like...
they're a different kind of crazy, right? Like, hockey players, to me, they're crazy in terms of their sport, right? Like, they're crazy in the way they work, their dedication to their sport. That's what they're crazy about. Football, you got football players. There's a lot of guys that are dedicated to their sport, don't get me wrong. But there's a lot of flat-out nut jobs in football.
Yeah.
It's not, and their nut jobs just nut jobs. They're not crazy about football. There's a lot of football players that are crazy about football. There's a lot of football players that are just crazy, period.
Yeah. That's true.
Should be interesting. You got anything else you want to touch on? Tell me.
Cover football. You got anything else on football?
No, there hadn't been that much going on, bro.
Man, it's been a lot going on.
In football? Where you want to go? Tell me.
I guess we'll just wrap this one up.
Or we can do that.
That was bad.
Yeah, it's kind of that quiet time in the world of sports a little bit.
You're fucking nuts. No, it's not.
Kind of.
Nah, fuck no. Football's just getting started. Baseball, the races are heating up.
But there's not much going on. The races are, there's a lot of races that are decided, right? There's no race in the AL East, the AL West, the NL West.
Yeah, that's half the divisions.
Right, but that's my point, right? Like, in other years, all 6 divisions would be close, and you'd be like, oh shit,
Well, there will always be that 1 or 2 divisions that are...
Right, but now we're talking about 3, maybe even 4, right? If you throw in the AL East. The NL East, I mean.
I think this is a good time, man. Football, baseball, doesn't get any better than that.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Seems kind of quiet to me. If you want to get a hold of the show, if you want to share your thoughts about MLB or NFL with us, you can shoot us an email at positivesports10@gmail.com. Positivesports10@gmail.com. If you want to get a hold of me, you can do so on Twitter at eMontana21. And if you want to go a hold of this guy, how do they do that?
On Twitter at Brooklyn Gaucho1.
Excellent. He got it right this time. You got a shout out this week?
I am going to shout out 3 players that have Hall of Fame genes in them. Well, 2 of the 3 do, but one could potentially. Bo Bichette, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., and I know I'm going to say his fucking first name wrong, Cavan Biggio Jr. I think it's pretty awesome that, their dads played in the major league, and now all 3 of them are playing on the same team at the same time. And the future's looking kind of, could be kind of bright for the Blue Jays. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Bo Bichette absolutely are sons of their dad. Biggio Jr. Biggio might want to go to Maury and get a DNA because they don't look alike. But I think it's pretty cool that they're playing together and at the major league level. So shout out to them.
It's got to be very helpful for them to have each other around, because I'm sure their path to the major leagues is slightly different than everybody else's, right? Because they had dads, because they've been in major league dugouts from the time they were little. I'm sure their path is different, and I'm sure people relate to them a little bit differently as well.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that it helps to be on the same team, to be able to share some stories and some experiences on how they've gone through the process of getting there. It is an exciting time, I think, for the Blue Jays. Certainly, they're not having a great season, but the future, I think, does look bright.
Yeah, I mean, definitely something to build around, right?
Yeah, absolutely. My shout-out goes out to Valentina Shevchenko. Last night at UFC Uruguay, she beat Liz Carmouche by unanimous decision. Pretty lopsided fight. She won all 5 rounds, in my opinion, and in the opinion of all 3 judges, and defended her UFC flyweight title. She is an absolute beast, dominant flyweight on the women's side. I don't see anyone beating her for a while unless she decides to go down to 115 or up to 135. That 125 division really doesn't have anything for her. But she just, and the thing that's cool about her is you don't hear any grief, you don't hear any trouble. They line them up every 3 months and she knocks them down. And she's just doing her job, going out there, trying to be the best she can be. She's just a fantastic warrior and a hell of a fighter. And, last night was no different than what she's been doing all along. But every title defense is a feather in her cap. What episode are we on here? 87?
87.
Famous 87s. You got one?
Gronk.
Yeah, I couldn't think of
Gronk,
one.
the fucking robot.
I can't think of another. You think he's coming back?
Yes. I think
if you had to bet a substantial amount of money, you would bet he's coming back?
Yes, I think he would.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think he would.
I just can't imagine he's going to want to stay away from it. I get the feeling that he really loves football. He loves being out there with the guys. Like, he has a good time.
He loves football, but not for the length of the season.
Yeah, I think most guys
especially him.
Yeah.
So I really can see him, depends when their bye week is, but I mean, I can see him coming back in the middle of the season, Kraft making a phone call, say, hey man, I got some, happy endings lined up for you. Come back to Gillette Field and play some fucking football.
Jeez.
Right?
Yeah. I mean,
come practice in Florida. I got a good spot out there, with palm trees and Asians and,
God, you will not let go of that.
Oh, you got feet like Antonio Brown? Come to my massage therapist. That's where... Brown needs to make the call to Robert Kraft tonight. Hey, man, how do I fix this fucking frostbite?
How do I fix this? Well, there's a massage place. God, you're terrible. Anyway, that's all, folks. As always, thank you very much. Catch the podcast on YouTube, iTunes, Podbean, Google Play, whatever platform you choose to listen and or watch. Comment, like, subscribe.
All that good stuff.
All that good stuff. Just let us know. And as always, folks, ignore the negativity. Be the positivity.
Peace.